I've chosen the trigger. Betrayed by a best friend. Longtime friend steals his idea, partner, or position. I used to believe loyalty was the rarest and most precious thing a man could give. So when Daniel came into my life during my 20s, I poured it all into him. We met in a cramped co-working space, two struggling dreamers with grand visions of building something from nothing. And for years, we fought side by side through sleepless nights, cheap coffee, and endless setbacks. I called him brother, more times than I can count. I let him into my home, into my family's dinners, into my trust so completely that he knew things about me no one else did. My fears, my hopes, even the passwords to my life. We celebrated our small wins over beer at midnight, told each other it was only a matter of time before our company took off. He'd put a hand on my shoulder, look me dead in the eyes, and promise me we were building something no one could ever take from us. I believed him with every part of me. Then came the day I buried that belief. It happened so fast, I didn't even realize it until it was too late. The investors' meeting was supposed to be ours. We had finally secured a room with the kind of people who could launch our product into the world. I was sick that morning, fever hitting me like steel, and Daniel told me not to worry. Rest, he said. I'll handle today. We're in this together. That's the last time I felt safe. By evening, my phone was buzzing with messages not from him, but from employees asking why the company was suddenly announcing a leadership change. My name was gone from the website, replaced with his. My email login failed. The product designs I'd stay up nights perfecting were now being touted as his brainchild. The pitch deck we built together had been rewritten in a way that erased me completely. I learned that he had spent weeks preparing to cut me out, re-registering trademarks, altering contracts, convincing certain staff that I was a liability. He told them I wasn't committed. I saw photos from the meeting, him smiling. My mock-ups in the background, our dream, now only his. The betrayal was a knife twisted slow. I couldn't eat for days. Every friendly laugh we'd shared became a mocking echo in my head. I'd wake at night sweating, my mind replaying every red flag I'd ignored. The way he hoarded contacts, the vague answers when I asked about finances, the calls he'd taken in another room. I thought about confronting him, screaming, dragging the truth into the daylight. But all that would do was show him I was broken. So I stayed quiet. I let him believe I'd disappeared. I started reading, studying, even in those nights when my hands shook too much to hold a pen. Business law, contracts, corporate warfare. I dug into every corner of the industry. I knew where he was strong and exactly where he was weak. I learned that he'd rushed product manufacturing to impress investors, cutting corners that would hurt his rollout. I tracked the shelf life of his deals. Short, brittle negotiations that fell apart when pressed. I sent polite messages to old contacts, not to talk about him, but to show them I was still alive, still thinking, still capable. I built a network under the radar. People didn't need to know my plans. They only needed to see I delivered value wherever I touched a project. To Daniel, I was gone. To the market, I was invisible. To myself, I was sharpening a blade. Year 1 was survival. Year 2 was positioning. I quietly launched a consultancy, disguised under a generic name, helping other small companies avoid the mistakes Daniel was making. Word spread. My reputation grew back piece by piece. By the middle of the 3rd year, I'd collected enough leverage, financial and social, to make my move. That's when I received the perfect invitation. A live industry panel where Daniel would be speaking about innovation alongside other leaders. The audience would include the investors he'd stolen from me. I accepted without telling him. The moment came on stage. The room smelled of new paint and expensive wine. You could feel the heat from the overhead lights. As Daniel began his speech, all confident swagger and polished lies, I sat still, waiting for my turn to speak. When the moderator finally gestured to me and asked about the qualities that made a true leader, I leaned forward. My voice was calm, but my words carried knives. I spoke about loyalty. I spoke about building legacies not on theft, but on partnership. I revealed documents, emails, signed designs, prototype notes, all dated long before Daniel's so-called vision. I explained how shortcuts lead to collapse, how history remembers truth. The crowd was silent, except for the clicking of cameras. I can see the color draining from his face. The investors shifted in their seats. Within weeks, the panel clip went viral in our circles. His credibility shattered. Contracts fled from his grasp. Staff quietly resigned. That product that was supposed to make him a legend, it failed under the weight of his own ambition. But my fight didn't end with his fall. I took what I'd learned, the pain, the nights alone, the study, and built something bigger than what we'd dreamed of in that co-working space. My consultancy became a full-scale firm dedicated to teaching creators how to protect themselves from betrayal. We launched workshops, wrote guides, built contracts that shielded visionaries from the kind of theft I'd endured. I mentored young founders, telling them my story not to stir anger, but to show them that survival is possible, that the quiet rebuild can lead to louder victories than revenge alone. Every step of my new life carried a shadow, but it no longer threatened me. It reminded me of where I'd come from. It reminded me of what I'd overcome. I'm here to help with any questions or information you need. Please let me know how I can assist you.